Hi guys! So I'm doing a soul rebirth journey for Yvonne today. And Yvonne, thank you so much for your open-mindedness to share this experience with others. So I'm going to go ahead and read your goals, which are pretty intense, and I'm really looking forward to exploring what's going on here, helping you to feel better and to learn more about what is inspiring this. So Yvonne shares that I'm stuck in darkness from the burdens of the poor choices I've made in my life. I feel hopeless and held down. I'm 64 and feel like time is short. Can you help release this and show me why this has been my soul's path? This is going to be really intense, and I'm glad that you reached out to me. These types of sessions are they're really valuable and they really touch my soul. And I'm really honored to be able to touch your soul as well. So I'm going to relax here. I'm just I'm sponging in the keywords here. Specifically, when you say poor choices, one thing you should let go of is the word poor choices, because we have experiences, and experiences are, we make a choice and then we see what happens, and sometimes those choices are not as yummy and as wonderful and as precious of an outcome as we hoped they would be, but sometimes we get kind of snaggled into a way of being, and it just seems like we're tumbling down a hill, and we just sort of rolling and rolling, and we're picking up more dirt along the way, but in the end, no matter what, you got to embrace the choices, because they make you this extraordinary person that you are today. And you got to start to see that when you look at your reflection in the mirror, that, man, I lived a life. I have lived a life. And to start giving yourself credit and to feel proud of yourself for the choices. And you have a right to do that, okay? No matter what those choices are, you can still say, you know what, I have a good heart and I'm not going to feel regret or shame or disappointment. I'm gonna just embrace this and know that I made the choices, and I want to be happy now. And now you can be. Now you just simply can let all that stuff go. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna relax here. One other thing: hopeless, held down. These are big deals. You feel like your time is short. You want to know why this is your soul's path. It's all big stuff. This is big stuff. Okay, so I'm allowing myself to feel more connected here with my spirit guides, higher self, your spirit guides, higher self, angelic realms. Let's see what we waltz into here. It's very quiet right now. It's very, very quiet, very silent experience for me. It's revealing imagery, but how do I define it? It's very silent, so there's not a lot of density. I'm not just like running into a wall or anything. It's actually open, but it's not held together. So it's not holding itself together. It's very kind of expanded. Excuse me. And I don't know how you would, it's like the texture of this space is almost like paint. And you could see that paint doesn't hold itself together very well. It's like if it's in an anti-gravity room. Paint in an anti-gravity room is going to go bwop, bwop, bwop all over the place. So it's not like necessarily like a piece of wood in an anti-gravity room is going to be a piece of wood wherever it floats. But the paint is going to just decide to kind of move in blobs wherever it feels like dispersing, and however. So there's something about this It's a dark bluish color, a really dark bluish color. And even has like some hues of purple in it, and it's just all saturated though. It's all saturated in this color, but there's like more visible bloppiness, like glops of it, in places, and some of it's sort of scattered about, and it's very quiet in here. And it's just sort of like anti-gravity. There's even like no sound, you know. It kind of reminds me of like you go into a black hole. I've actually journeyed into a black hole, and the sound of silence is, it's so weird. It's so weird, when there's not a vibrational sound at all. And here, I wouldn't say it's pure silence, like on that extreme where the black hole itself eradicates all light, all sound, all everything, all matter. So here, there's is still obviously matter, but it's just unbelievably quiet in here, and there's no, it's not holding itself together. It's just sort of moving about like anti paint in an anti gravity room. I don't have anywhere to stand in here either, so when I walk into the space more, I have to just levitate. But part of the frequency of the structure, I'm not paint, so paint is light enough that it can float in the air. But something about my vibration is too heavy, so it's like it's inspiring the effect of me falling. I don't get to just hang out in this space. I'm gonna fall here. So I'm just going to allow myself to fall. Everything's getting a little bit more. I'm sort of a bristle on the pant leg, and I'm in a discomfort. So everything of the frequency here is starting to see me as a pest. And it's like the white blood cells found the infection and they need to destroy. So your spiritual atmosphere, the vulnerability within your spiritual atmosphere is noticing that there's an emanation of love here that isn't the same as the structure itself, as the pattern. So now we need to eradicate that so we can get the pattern rebuilt, reorganized as it was. But there is no going back, because hopelessness and the burdens, we're not going to go back to that, because we're going to continue to move forward and feel strong, feel collected, feel grounded, love ourselves, and let the past go, because you can't keep living in the past. You have to choose to live for today, and you can be a totally new person today, and whatever you did before, we don't know anything about that, because we're living right now as the person we choose to be today. And you don't need to be the person that you were, or all these versions of yourself. You don't need to collect them all and just wear that baggage as like some sort of coat that everybody needs to see that you haven't forgiven yourself for everything. You need to take that off and just say, okay, if I can let go, if I could forgive myself, if I could see that the choices are what they are, like if you can just choose to, we can even play pretend on this one. And let's just say you could be new today without feeling those burdens. Who would you be, and how would you walk? How would you hold yourself up? You have a right to smile today. You have a right to. And nobody else around here is judging you but yourself. And so the sooner you can stop judging yourself, you'll start to see that it's a different world and that you are a different person, because you're a happy person now. This is really the challenge, to choose to know that you are still beautiful no matter what, especially when you have a really good heart that is punishing you now. You're punishing yourself, and you don't need to do that. All right, so I am like a thorn. I'm a bunch of bristles. It's sort of like you're a kid walking out in the woods, and you'll run into like little bristles, little things that stick to your pant legs, and then they start to itch, or they start to stab a little bit. They're prickly, and then you got to pull them off and things like that. There's something like I am this, and so everything sees me as a pest, sees me as a discomfort, sees me as not wanted. And now it's like I feel like I'm getting surrounded by, it actually is white balls of energy that are coming to remove me, or to check on me, or to challenge me, to threaten me, to something of this kind. This is just, we're changing the structure and the pattern, okay? And this is very normal. Oh gosh, it's so goopy. It's like glue. And it's these balls are they're like orbs. They could you could see, like white blood cells. They look like little circles, So this looks like little white circles. They're like the size of your head, and they're all around me, and they're all like flushing towards me, like scrubbing bubbles or something. But they're really sticky, like glue. And there's almost like a glue waterfall, and they're like the bubbles at the end of the glue waterfall. But it's everything is very sticky that's coming towards me. It's all very sticky. It's like a glue. It's a river of glue, a water. It's like Niagara Falls of glue. Very sticky. This is really unique to you. Very unique. I've never experienced a glue, an energy glue of quite this kind, As sticky things, I come across sticky things, but this is probably the stickiest, ego issue. This is very unique to you. Hmm. All right, I'm totally getting pulverized. I'm like on the ground and underneath Niagara glue falls, and I'm like, ugh, like it's all just like pouring down. It's trying to smash me and destroy me, but it's really silent. It doesn't tell me that it's trying to eradicate me. It sort of has manners. It has like really nice manners as it's trying to brush this dust bunny away, which is I am the healing vibration, but the pattern has been developing this echo of what is the normal. The glue Niagara Falls is your normal. And the anti-gravity paint room, where nothing is solidified and sturdy and no real structure to it, that is the normal. So here I come in and I'm a reflection of grounding and unconditional love and forgiveness and all this stuff. And so all this energy structure, which is very unique to you, is trying to eradicate me, still doing that. So I just go with it, okay? I just continue to go with it, and I'm continuing to let it out, all right? Some people, that very normal for an energy field to spot me and then feel uncomfortable. So I can get I get all kinds of stuff, but yours actually, your like response, I could get strangled, I could get stabbed, I get mutilated, anger sharks are screaming at me, thrown out. It doesn't hurt me. I'm just letting the energy react, okay? But yours has manners, is very quiet, and then it's pretending not to eradicate me or remove me, but it is. It's like totally like going crazy here, but it's pretending to be. It's like acting like it has manners and it is nice, but it's actually quite terrified and very concerned about this intruder. So just continuing. I will say, despite everything you're telling me here, like you actually have quite a lovely, peaceful side of yourself. I mean, the quietness here is actually very lovely for me, and it's very calming for me because I'm like really, I can be very noisy, energetically noisy, because I am constantly like the next thing, always wanting to start a new project, always wanting to work on something, and I have so much creative like juices that I just are so flowing all the time. It's like go go go. I can't slow down. Like I struggle with just slowing down, and even when I'm just in a quiet nature setting for days and days and days, I'm still like, what else can I do, what else can I do, what else can I work on? I just don't know how to relax. So your spiritual atmosphere is actually very calming for me, and helping me to slow down and relax, because your spiritual atmosphere just is this way, and I like it. And you receiving compliments is actually, the glue is not as sticky, and it's starting to turn into water. And the sort of white blood cells, the balls here, are actually turning into what is natural, like misting coming from a waterfall. and it's separating, so it's like little tiny dots of mist, like thousands of thousands, like natural mist is developing here. And the more I remind you of who you are, which is very peaceful and you're very calming, and I mean, who doesn't enjoy the sound of moving water, like a brook? You could take a walk next to moving water, and it's just very peaceful. Even it's more like moving water, like not like the ocean waves, but more like going downstream, like a brook, or just moving downstream. But there's something very wonderful about the sound of the moving water, and it's your spiritual atmosphere. And even the Niagara Falls is actually not as overwhelming. It's not destructive. It's not. I mean, Niagara Falls is beautiful, but there's something about simplicity and quiet, and the calming that is sort of a calming essence. So even the waterfall that was just so expanded is now just relaxing down, and it's just even starting to relax to the degree that the water is almost drying up now. So it's almost like there's nothing left here. Very strange, because I quite enjoyed your personality as a gentle flowing brook that is very peaceful and relaxing for me. I really enjoyed that. But now that the water's drying up, I have to understand why you're going in this direction here. I have to now see you as you are. I mean, things are drying up and dying. And you show me yourself now in another way, as a dry desert where everything is dead and not even cactuses can grow here. And deserts too are quiet. Do you find peace in the desert? You are asking me that. You are what you're a wise person. It's you're trying to prove very wisely, prove a point, and I'm not buying it. So that again, you're actually quite amazing. You're quite amazing. I'm gonna go with it though. So you, Yvonne, you're listening to the conversation, and you're appreciating the compliments, which are transforming you into who and what you are. What you truly are is like very peaceful and relaxing for my senses, and I'm enjoying this flowing water version of you. Now, but you have to prove you're staying yourself for too long. So you're staying as a reflection of yourself, which is peaceful and harmonizing for others. But once you discover that you're peaceful and harmonizing for others, you have to say, well, you're getting it wrong, because I'm actually more like a desert where everything's dead and nothing grows. And deserts are quiet too. But you wouldn't be peaceful in a desert, because nobody is peaceful in a desert, especially because nothing grows there. So there is no such thing as peacefulness in the desert. There's just blowing sand and death. And now you're trying to convince me, you are acting yourself, this beautiful flowing brook, and now you're drawing yourself up to prove a point that you're not that. You're a dead thing. You're not a lovely thing. You're not something that I can compliment. So you're actually destroying the opportunity to receive love, and to help me to see how unworthy of love you are. But if you could feel how you feel to me, Yvonne, you'd be like, wow, I'm really like that. Yes, you're actually very peaceful, very calming, wise. You just need to love yourself as like your mission. Because you're actually so lovable. You're totally lovable. You're totally like adorable. You're like so like easy to love. Very easy to love. But you refuse to love yourself, and you don't let anybody else love you either, because we're wrong about you. We're wrong about you. Stop insisting that you are something that you're not. Because you're lovable and wonderful and refreshing, and that is who you are. Let's see what the desert you says. I actually really, really enjoy your spiritual atmosphere a lot, and I'm really enjoying talking to your deeper consciousness. Okay, deeper consciousness feels like it needs to threaten me a little bit more in order to prove that you're as awful as you say you are, okay? So it's changing the desert, and quite horrific, creating like a demonic space kind of thing, because the ground is starting to like seep. The sand is starting to turn black like oil. There's an oil spill here in the desert, and it's just all seeping with darkness. And everything is getting very disgusting, and it's just opening up a gushing nasty wound. It stinks. It's very not like very normal wound space. So I got to treat it as an actual energetic wound. Then I also need to treat it as, you're trying to prove something, but is this real or is this another fabrication of how bad you think that it is? But I have to treat it also as a wound because it is stinky in here. And wounds are like, they stink. They're like a rotting corpse smell. So let's just see what this is about. And just continue to let it go. It's getting worse. It's, manifesting all types of evil emanations. I tell your consciousness, I say, why don't you come hang out with me? Let's just talk about this. Because let's stop trying to prove anything, and why don't you just tell me where it hurts, and then I can go to those places. And if it really does feel like this, then that's all you need to say. You don't do a roundabout with me. Don't just try and, like, actually just let's just fess up and say, well, this is what hurts here. This is your deeper consciousness that's avoiding here, and your deeper consciousness. So we're going to continue to go deeper into the layers. So I'm bringing this awareness, and we just do this together. Deeper consciousness is actually showing me a wicked side and says that I'll never understand, like, you'll never understand me, you'll never be able to help me, you'll never be able to heal me. It really is this bad, and you'll never understand that. And I say, you want it to be this bad. You actually want it to be this bad. Why do you want it to be this bad? And what is it that you need to prove? What is the compassion and the empathy that would allow you to let go of holding on to this? Something just released from the ground, and it's like a really fast spinning saw that came up and out of the soil, like out of this oily sand. It's black everywhere. There's like hell demons about, and fire and everything, and it stinks in here. And so this saw blade that's spinning really, really fast, this is not like vertically, it's horizontally, and it just spins up into the air. She's showing me there's so many saw blades in the gut region, and she will continue to rip herself apart. She will continue to cut the wood into little pieces and splinter. She will continue, and she shows me this happening forever. That she'll never let the saw blades will always keep spinning, and the sawdust will continue to create splinters, and the wood will always forever be splintered, and the blood will continue to run, and on and on and on and on. It's almost poetic in a weird way, but she won't let go of. She in a way, she feels like she should. This is what she has earned or deserved. I say, well, I'm glad that you're showing me this. You got a roundabout way of doing things, but I'm going to work with it. If that's your style, we'll work with it. I'm just looking at the saw blades that I look under the ground to see them all spinning really fast on what is a cylinder here, and there's lots of them spinning really, really fast on this. I'm just gonna put her into the saw blades because I'm just gonna have her. I just need to see. I need her to. This is just a method here to create a shift and change because I'm not gonna. It's sort of like, well, we can stand here and look at how bad it really is, but you want it to be this bad, so I'm just gonna put the consciousness into as bad as it wants it to be and actually experience it for itself. And until you choose to experience it, your creation for yourself, this is really messed up here. So we need to we need to full circle it and bring it straight on, face forward into what you're choosing for yourself. She's fine with that. She's also the pieces of wood that are constantly splintered and hurting. So she just shows me that the saw pieces just cut her up over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And she just keeps gushing with blood, and the blood rivers keep flowing, and the sands continue. And she smiles at me and laughs at me and tells me, you won't be able to heal me, you will not be able to change this, you will not be able to do anything for me, I am in control, it's really this bad, etc. It's just like, you again you're right, I can't heal you. The reason why is because you don't want to be healed, and you want to endure this torture, self-punishment, over and over and over again until you die. And death then might free you from it, but I'm telling you, this wound isn't going away until you choose to just stop being like this. And you want to be like this, so that's your choice. So I guess I'll leave now, and just leave you to your very empty, lonely, desert, stinky place. I'm going to chill out. I'm just going to let this space go, and we'll just see what else we can come across here. So, and this is very interesting response because everything is puking. And in this next space is really unusually dimensional. It's like and it's all puking over and over again. There's some sort of baby that is it is distorted and stuck into very distorted shapes, and the baby is in extreme pain and suffering. And so there's constant puking because of the suffering is so great. So a baby is puking over and over again and is very distorted. And there's screaming going on in the dimension with the saw blades. And she's just screaming forever and ever, and the echoes just go on forever and ever. Thing is she wanted it this way. So I'm just going to continue to move forward, and the only way to truly heal is to continue to bring the weeds up, okay? To keep pulling the weeds up, and we get enough of these weeds up, and now everything starts to dissolve, okay? This baby is also interconnected with this awful saw blade space. Okay, this is pretty disturbing as well because there's some sort of evil nemesis that is in the baby's head that is telling the baby to do this. So it's telling the baby to distort another body space so that it can be stretched, and it can hurt very badly as it distorts the geometry of its design. So this baby is, you could imagine, in a kaleidoscope of shapes, and it's being stretched and distorted, and it's very excruciatingly painful. But the baby listens to what is a cockroach in its head to continue to distort itself, and every time it distorts itself, it starts to vomit. So that's what I see now. But nothing ever just stops. Like for instance, I'm observing both actual dimensions. There's two dimensions of suffering going on here. And you can imagine it like a wheel of fortune, all right? And so here's the center, and then we have all these sort of like triangle, like fortune pieces. Well, I'm looking at two of them, and I'm observing there's this baby one over here, and here's this one with the saw blades. So I'm just looking at these two dimensions of suffering, okay? And I kind of put them next to each other, and I just touch it in order to see if I can get a wah wah wah, like a energy to come out of it, like a scream, like it wants to respond to me. Like it should be acknowledging me, but it just isn't wanting to. I'm merging this two dimensions together, so the baby dimension and the saw blade space are merged now. And let's see what happens. The woman in the saw blades is now being stretched and distorted into wild dimensional shapes. And this sounds very strange, but the saw blades are cutting the baby to pieces, and for the first time, the baby feels free. That sounds very strange, but it is what is happening. And the woman, for the first time, is experiencing something new as well. And it is like freedom to have a new version of suffering. But she doesn't experience it as suffering at all. She experiences it as freedom. Freedom to be all the geometric shapes and have nothing to do with the saw blades anymore. And the baby says it's freedom to be put through like the spin cycle of all these saw blades and to cut into a million pieces. It's freedom. There is a man that comes in, and there's a snap of the finger and time stops. He owns these worlds, and he's asking me two things. One is, what are you doing? What do you think you are doing? As though I'm playing around here. I'm playing with torture. I'm torturing you. And I'm telling him that I am altering the puzzle pieces so we can start to learn differently about the choices of pain and suffering. So the soul then can start to self-realize that it needs to stop punishing itself. Soul chooses. This man says, I don't get to decide how the soul will suffer in these places. It is his decision. And I say, no, it isn't. It's actually Yvonne's decision. And Yvonne is welcoming me into these places, and I'm the one that is helping to transform them. He isn't like me. I say, but I like you. I recognize him from somewhere. I seem to recognize him from somewhere. He's like a real alternate consciousness is what it's like. He's thinking a great deal right now. I'm telling you, he's pretty, he makes me feel sleepy now. The good news is, Yvonne, you're not going to be holding on to this junk. Well, we got to continue to go through the layers. And once you're not holding on to this junk, this emanation, this consciousness, will not be a part of your life anymore either. And the amazing water flows of heavenly rivers that are going to be purifying your spiritual atmosphere and releasing you from self-punishment. And this is hardcore. I mean, your self-punishment, it's on a soul level. It's not like on the human plane, because I haven't gone back far enough yet. We're still sort of in the surface here, and I'm looking at everything. But as much as I know what it sounds like, I know everything, but I'm working my way through the layers, and we're altering the frequency patterns in order to release you from your soul holding on to hell, basically. And your soul doesn't need to stay in hell anymore. And hell spaces for souls are manifested over lots of lifetimes. And the purpose of it is basically to break the soul down and transform the soul into a diamond. So if the soul can get through torture, hell spaces, spiritual hell spaces is basically a reflection of earth. Really rotten, hellish lifetimes. Of slavery, abuse, child rape experiences, adult rape, like anything and everything, torture, anything and everything you could imagine, burn at the stake, creates actual spaces where the soul can't let go of the experience. And the soul will remain in the echo of that terror for as many lifetimes as it takes until it is accepting that some souls can't let go of judgment, some souls are afraid, some souls. So it's really you holding on to somebody else's stuff. When it feels like you're burning alive, they're receiving somebody else's fear, and now they're controlling you and trying to put an imprint into your soul to be afraid. It's really their stuff, it's not your stuff. But souls choose these very difficult lifetimes in order to break themselves down, and once they get through that type of timeline, they're like the archangels of the universe, like they're like the extraordinary mass ascended master souls. And so there's something here about your soul is still in like hell spaces. It doesn't need to be. Hell spaces, like we could be looking at a lot of soul fragments here. We're just looking at 2 dimensions of space, and you're really insisting that this is what you deserve, or this is what you need, and you're not going to let go of it because there's something about it that souls get adjust to it. Souls start to become the hell. They become it. So I'm still learning. Okay, I'm still learning about you. But I'm just gonna give you this little insight here that what this is you're going through in your life is actually a deep soul wounded space. Okay, and there's 2 dimensions. You're extremely dimensional. You're way more than 2 dimensions. You're way more than 13 dimensions. You're like millions and trillions of dimensions. But in this lifetime, we're working with these 2 specific ones, which could have like hundreds of soul fragments in it. I don't know. But there's this man here. So let's just continue to work on just letting go of the soul pain. Okay. He looks like a movie star. He actually looks like a movie star that I've seen, and I don't know what his name is. I don't know why he's coming through like... I'm trying to think of the name because you'll know who I'm talking about, this movie star. Baldwin, something. He's one of these Baldwins. He's got really blue eyes, and he's wearing a business suit, and he's got his hair brushed over. He's very charming looking, actually, but he feels like he's sort of like the devil or something. He controls the realms, kind of thing. But I don't really necessarily believe that either. I don't feel like anybody controls the realms. It is the soul's choice to be in that experience or not. But maybe, I don't know. Let's just see what happens next. He knows, he's starting to emanate to me a realization that he's having. And he's starting to come to realize that that's something that his soul had forgotten about a long time ago. And it has to do with me coming here into this place and to turn things inside out, or turn them backward, change the frequency, and sent a signal to his soul. And that's why he came here. But he felt that he was a part of the torture and the nightmare too, but he actually wasn't. And he too had gotten manipulated in the frequencies as part of his soul did. And he's starting to transform into a really beautiful light of love. And he says that he is sorry to you. He actually says, I'm sorry to you. I'm not sure if you know who this is in the human world, but your soul knows who this is. My soul even knows who this is. I'm actually feeling so much reverence for him. And actual gratitude, and that he came, and that he had a self-realization, and then he chose to honor the realization that came from a love within himself. and now to transform into that frequency and not hold on to being sort of the keeper of the suffering for you. And all he had to do was say, I'm sorry. And him saying sorry to your soul is all you needed to hear in order to free yourself from this. That's literally what this is like right now. That let's see what happens, okay? He now tells me he's starting to kind of emanate like this part of yourself that is controlling you is sort of your own master demon. It's almost like he's being brainwashed and she's keeping him here, and she is coming down like a many fabrics of darkness, and she's like a big spider woman, and she has more than 8 legs, I'm telling you, because all these fabrics are like legs, but it's her dress. It's also a black dress, and she's using this fabric into his soul, and his soul is starting to catch a whiff of her master illusionary energy, and he's starting to forget the love again, and he is now everything is starting to become the illusion again, the manipulation. And she is laughing again because she is so easy to manipulate these souls. The thing is, she's a part of who you are. She's like you. You are a master manipulator of yourself, but this is, I can see why this is a really hard to get out of this. I'm just continuing to emanate what he said, that is, I'm sorry, and now I am transforming into him, and I'm standing here and I'm looking at the spider woman, and he has very beautiful blue eyes, and I keep sharing the blue eyes with her, and I'm saying, and I'm reaching my hand out into her chest, and I'm saying, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry for what had happened to you. I'm sorry. I'm just going to continue to focus here. And I'm just touching her heart. And I'm allowing the love into her heart. She wants to get away. She wants to scream. She wants to explode. She wants to blow up. She wants to... That she can't. The one thing she needed to hear was this soul say, I'm sorry to her. She's crying and she's losing her ability to hold on to the manipulator role. And she is starting to notice how ugly she's become, and her body is very grotesque looking under this dress, and it quivers, and it's like really morbid looking skin, and it's greenish, and there are actual like 8 legs under the dress, and everything is quivering, and she's drying up inside. But me and this soul both know that the more that we help the love get into her heart, the more that she can transform, because the time for this diamond to shine is now. And we're talking about you, Yvonne, the time for you to shine as the diamond that you are from all of this pressure is now, which is actually very cool. And we're just continuing to emanate love for you. And it's okay to let go of all of this pain your soul has been holding on to. I mean, this is way deep in the soul. She's actually getting extremely exhausted here, and she's not able to fight back for much longer. Is still happening, and I'm feeling I have been the sort of an echo of this spirit, but now he is standing next to me, and I am standing here, and both of our hands are in her heart, sharing love with her heart, which is also a very like part of your soul that I would give a lot of reverence to, even if it is this corrupt. It's because of all the suffering this part of your soul has been through. And we're not talking about just this lifetime. This is deep stuff. This is really deep dimensional stuff. So we just continue to share love and help her to transform, okay? It's very hard because there's just stinky fumes that are coming out of her, and it's just sort of memories. And there's so many blocks here, so many shapes, and each shape has a memory, and each memory is too terrible for her soul to bear it. And her soul can't bear the weight of these memories anymore, and the soul feels like the memories are weighing, like literally so heavy it's crushing the soul. And so I literally see what is your most purest divine essence under the weight of some unimaginably large rock. But the rock is made up of all of these shapes, and each shape is a painful soul memory. And you're smashed underneath the weight of it. She just does not want to let go, but she's quite weakened. I mean, this is quite weakened here. And she's still not letting go of her ugliness. There's something of a gem, and he feels one gem and I feel one gem, and we both take the gems out of what is her heart. Again, she looks like a human spider that is very dried up and shriveled up, and but the skin is like a greenish yellow puke green color, and very unnatural looking, disturbing, morbid looking thing that she is. And we both have a gem that comes from her, from what is left of her heart, and we put the gems to touch the gems to each other, and the gems merge. One is pink and one is blue, and then they merge and create light, and the light is in the shape of a heart. And now this gem we place into her third eye. We place into every part of her that would be like a chakra portal, okay? We just place this love into every energy portal of her design, okay? We just go all the way down. And place this heart into, what is this baby and this other woman that's but in the spaces themselves. Into this cockroach man, into all the demon emanations. It's getting more full of love here. It's still clenched very tight, but it's so much progress from where we were. We're actually in there. We're in the rooted area here. We're just allowing it to continue to just relax more and more. That it's still kind of tight here, but it's relaxing. Still holding on, but I'm telling you, it's like relaxing, and it's making me feel very exhausted. This is some big deal stuff in your spiritual atmosphere here. Isn't quite done yet. My spirit guides ask me, what is preventing the energy from just giving into the love, from just letting go? And so I'm looking here for what is holding it back. I just saw a weird puff of dust come out, interacting with the spider woman. I'm starting to see that everything is part of her web, and the web is spun really tight, The Wheel of Fortune, these two dimensions that I merged, she's also caught in her own web. This man is part of the web too, and then I'm also here in the web looking at it all. It's a very tightly spun web. And I think about cutting the web down, but in my mind it's like, I don't like cutting things. I'm going to talk to the web, and I want to ask the web if it is ready to let go yet. The web is getting tighter and tighter. Sort of speaks with a very awful demonic sounding voice. I can't even tell what it's saying because it's like it's like a really crazy angry demon voice. I just put one of these heart shaped into the web. The web actually lets go of all the walls, and it wraps itself around that heart star like a hand, and it pulls itself backward. And it's sort of like it receives a heart like in the chest, and it's wanting to open up and express itself as like a divine emanation. It hasn't quite done it yet, but it's instantly like breathing and self-realizing. It tells me, I'm so tired, Abby. I just want to let go. I just want to let go. And I say, take a deep breath. Let's just relax for a moment. If you're still not ready to let go just yet, it's okay. Just relax and let's slow things down. You're holding on to a lot of stuff. You've been holding on to it for a long time. I understand. It's what you've known for a long time. Some part of it all feels right. He says, it's okay, Abby. I'm already letting it go. I've got to let it go now. She is very exhausted. Very, very exhausted. My spirit guides had asked if I knew what she had been holding on to for so long, or what she was not able to let go of, if I could try to define it. Let me see if I can. What comes to me is a knife stabbing into the heart. But the heart is made of a beautiful jewel. It is the most precious heart in the universe, is kind of what it's like. It's a glory heart. It's like a very treasured spirit of love. And it was so open and so expressive of love and so purely connected to heaven that when the knife stabbed into it, it poisoned the heart, and it forgot itself. It actually consumed the poison off of the dagger, and the poison went into this bright heavenly heart, and it became lost, it became confused, and it transformed into a spider. And this man is the one that chose to put the poison into your heart. And it sounds like a human story, but it's weird. It's like a spirit story. It's more like a soul story. It's like you could imagine the Bible talks about, angels that come down and fall in love with the humans, and they transform, the women have demon babies or whatever. But it's sort of like sounds very magical, very surreal. But I really feel strongly that there is a dimensional reality, perhaps in between worlds, where this is our there's our version of Earth, but there's other versions of Earth and other dimensions that we would call a spiritual dimension, but could be very physical as well, where you could have humans interacting with angels there, so to speak. That there's something of you as like a really extraordinary angel, and like God's heart is, you're so pure in the way that you express your soul very openly, express your soul, and somehow he had an instinctive choice to put this poisonous dagger into this beautiful heart. And the heart actually, like a mouth, sucked all the poison off. And it just happened naturally. It just consumed it naturally because your heart was so open and so exposed. But there was clearly a vulnerability that this dagger, you didn't have to receive that. You didn't have to choose to feel it, but it was too physical. It was too, there's something physical about it, and then it transformed you into a poisonous spider. And that's why he is here, to tell you I am sorry. And he himself didn't realize that a part of his soul in making that choice would be actually trapped in your web until the time would come where he would be free to tell you I am sorry. You would be able to hear it, and you would be able to both heal. Both your souls heal. My spirit guides are smiling at me, and I tell him, no human being is, I mean, this is something you'll have to only understand inside your soul. It's a spirit story. And it's a powerful spirit story for you, and it's the medicine that is going to bring you back to your self-awareness of who you truly are. And that diamond heart, that star heart, is actually who you are. She still remembers the taste of the poison. She remembers how she like a mouth consumed every drop of poison that was on the knife. And she fell into a dark slumber, and now she's starting to kind of be deep in thought about this. I tell her that I get it, you're sort of coming to realize you're waking up for the first time in a long time, and you've been holding on to a lot of heavy stuff. What can I do to help you come to peace with the poison and the taste of the poison, so we can help you continue to let go, because you're kind of holding on to it still because you're thinking about the taste of the poison. So we need to find a way to come to peace with it all. Because she's still shaky here. She's still a little shaky, and she's starting to remember the poison, and she's starting to think that the poison tasted good. And that is who she truly is. And now she wants to hold the knife, and now she wants the knife to be poisoned, and now she wants to stab it into his heart so he can taste the poison and he can be transformed and screwed up like she is. And I say, no, you don't. But I can't decide for her. She chooses for herself. I say, just stop for a minute. I want you to look at this man. I want you to just look at this man's eyes. I want you to let go of all of the hurt, all of the anger that you have towards him. I want you to stop, and I want you to look into this man's eyes. And I want you to find it within your heart how you feel about him, truly in your heart. She still feels the pain of his choices in her heart, but she knows beneath the surface of that pain she loves him with all her heart. And that's why what he did, she got lost in such the tragedy of what he had done. And she was never able to heal from it. I say, you have to be stronger than the wound. Being stronger than the wound is not giving in to the wound, it's letting the wound go and letting love again resurface. She is showing me she looks much like a scary spider woman, and she has him in her hand, and she is looking at her. Her face looks like Cruella de Vil, and she is looking into him, and she is squeezing him very tightly. And she is using her fingers to make them very sharp, and she is starting to cut the clothes off of him so she can expose his heart. She is cutting the skin now off of him, and so we can start to now cut the layer, the rib cage. Now we can see his heart, and she has this very sharp finger on his heart and smiles at him. He is sort of prepared because he knows that until she chooses to free herself, he will endure her suffering, which is the suffering of his own choices. She says, wait a second. So he's been enduring the suffering of his own choices all this time? While I have been suffering, I have wanted to torture him. She somehow forgot that he was there too. But it was like she was waiting for him. All of a sudden, instantly everything just dissolves, and she's just absolutely transformed backward. And she instantly snaps her fingers and everything closes up, and he's back the way he was, suit and all. And she even withers back even further and just starts to bawl her eyes out. She's just crying and crying, like heavily crying. She's just a little, like a delicate maiden, like she's a teenager, actually. She's like 15 years old. And she's just sobbing and sobbing, and her heart aches, she says. She's still very pale looking. She says, I am done with you. I need you to go now. And she's speaking that to the part of her spirit that had endured this pain and suffering. It looks like a Cruella de Vil spider kind of thing. And so I see like a ghostly emanation coming out of her. She says, I'm done. I want you gone. You are gone now. You are done. But she also says, I'm not ready for you yet either, to the man. She wants to go back home, and she wants to heal with her family, and when it is time, then she will return. But his soul, she says, is free, as she doesn't want him to endure any more suffering. They've both been suffering for long enough. That she needs to go home now, she says. And she's very weak and exhausted, and I experience what is family of love coming from heaven and holding her and carrying her into what is like a heavenly space of golden light and clouds and love kind of thing. That's what it's like. But she is, and she's a part of you that is going there. He actually needs time as well, so his soul's going into meditation, and he knows he's not the devil. He knows he is not. And sometimes you get confused and lost along the way, and you make choices, and now you learn from those choices. And he too, in a way, needs to forgive himself as well, and he hasn't been able to forgive himself either. But now that she is letting go of him, he now can work on forgiving himself, and now they can work on healing. And we're talking about another dimension with souls, and they're interconnected with your soul. Like this female emanation is you, and in a weird way, he's also very intertwined with your soul, even if he is a separate consciousness. And this is like kind of earthly, but on another earth plane of like a magical realm or something. It's different. It's a different energy to it. It's a spirit story. That's the only way I could define it. You're sleeping, and he actually is going to his spirit home, but he is struggling to feel that he is welcome there, but he knows that he is, and he needs help. There is a man that appears for him, and they're actually gravitating toward a place where there are lightning bolts in the sky, and really tall mountains. But it's sort of like a place where they can work through his choices. And you are just like just working through everything that you've endured as well. And you're sleeping, as well as crying, as well as receiving nourishment from other souls. In a place where you're safe to just rest. You're both safe to rest now. Everything we've seen this far is just so it's all gone. It's all washed away. It's not, there's no attachment in your spiritual atmosphere to what all of that we have seen, which is really, how do I explain the way it feels? Another reality of something very similar to Earth, but magical or different, slightly different. I don't know how to explain the spirit realm where things can happen in a denser space and it's like this. It looks like this. Anyway, you're going to be feeling a huge heaviness lifted. And just allow yourself to just relax, because you're probably going to feel really tired. And you might even cry for no reason. You might feel angry for no reason. This energy work, it just releases something seriously massive. And it transformed a part of yourself that was in a great deal of suffering for a really long time. And released basically someone who had wounded your heart very badly. And you were holding on to that poison, that suffering for a really long time, and now freed that soul from your spiritual atmosphere as well. So you can imagine this is a lot that just got released here. So on the human level, in our normal world, you're probably going to feel tired. You might feel weird for like usually 3 to 5 days is kind of a rule of thumb for feeling sleepier than usual. A little off emotionally, you might have it just feels different. You feel different, but you will actually transition out of that. And usually by the end of the week, by the 7th day or so, you're starting to feel like a heaviness is lifted, like you can breathe more, and like you're finding this diamond heart that you actually have, and you're able to be that and feel that and know that is who you are. Because you're truly like a very beautiful, like angelic emanation from heaven that just got tarnished through experience, all right? And it's all deep soul stuff. So anyway, that's all I can tell you, Yvonne. This is quite its own thing. I'm going to go ahead and properly here just disconnect from your spiritual atmosphere. So you're like an orb. I'm just pulling myself out of your orb, and I'm just pulling myself back into myself here. Okay, I'm going back into my own orb kind of thing. And I'm just cutting the ties here, so we just disconnect our spiritual atmosphere so you can go do your thing and I can go back to do my thing. I feel a lot more myself now. Oh, I can stretch. Oof. That's all a little weird. It's a little bit much coming back to my body after a session like that. All right. Thank you again for your open-mindedness to share, Yvonne. This is going to give people something to think about, and I know it's going to deeply impact your life too. And for those of you watching, if you're interested in exploring a session with me, please visit me at my website at abbeynormalswisdomquest.com. Thank you all for watching, and I wish you all a wonderful day.